The school called me about my daughter's emergency contact. The name they read over the phone was someone I hadn't seen in 12 years. I was making dinner when the school secretary called and said, "We need you to come in immediately." My heart started pounding. I assumed my daughter had fallen during gym class or gotten sick, but then the secretary said something that made my entire body freeze. Another emergency contact came to the school asking to see Ava. I stared at the kitchen counter. Who? There was a long pause before she answered. Daniel Mercer. I dropped the spoon in my hand. I hadn't heard that name in 12 years. Daniel was my college boyfriend, and the man I'd believed was dead. I drove to the school with my hands trembling on the steering wheel. When I walked into the office, a man was sitting near the reception desk wearing a baseball cap and dark jacket. He stood when he saw me. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he quietly said, "You look exactly the same." My heart nearly stopped. "You're supposed to be dead," I whispered. He lowered his eyes. I know. I wanted to scream. 12 years ago, Daniel had disappeared after a boating accident. His family told me there had been no survivors. I was devastated. I eventually moved on, married, and had Ava. Now he was standing in front of me like he'd simply been gone on vacation. The principal asked us to sit down. Daniel pulled an old envelope from his jacket and placed it on the desk. Inside were copies of emails, medical records, and a photograph of Ava as a baby. My stomach twisted. "I've known about her since she was born," he said. I stared at him in disbelief. "Then why didn't you come back?" His face crumpled. "Because I wasn't allowed to." He explained that after the accident, he had survived but suffered severe memory loss. His parents told him he had no family waiting for him and convinced him to move across the country while he recovered. Years later, fragments of his memory returned. He searched for me and discovered he'd had a daughter. I was furious. "You could have called," I shouted. "You could have found me." Daniel nodded, tears filling his eyes. I tried. He pulled out a folder containing dozens of returned letters he'd mailed to my old addresses. My anger suddenly became confusion. Then the principal quietly revealed something neither of us expected. Daniel's mother had been listed as one of Ava's emergency contacts for years. She had apparently added herself to the school records without my knowledge. When the school accidentally contacted her during a minor incident, she told them Daniel was Ava's biological father and asked them to let him see her. I looked at Daniel. "Did you come here because you want something from me?" He shook his head immediately. "No, I just want my daughter to know I exist. Whatever she decides after that, I'll accept it." My heart ached. I wasn't ready to forgive him. I wasn't even sure how I felt about him being alive. But then Ava walked into the office carrying her backpack. She looked at Daniel, then at me. "Mom, who is he?" The room went completely silent. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. I knelt beside my daughter and took her hand. "His name is Daniel. He's someone I need to tell you about." Ava looked at him carefully. Then she asked the simplest question in the world. "Do you know my favorite color?" Daniel smiled sadly. "No." She crossed her arms. "My favorite is purple." He nodded. "Then I guess I have a lot to learn." For the first time that day, Ava smiled. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't acceptance. It was simply curiosity. And somehow that was enough. We agreed to take everything slowly. Daniel would meet Ava in public places with me present until she felt comfortable. 6 months later, Daniel had become a regular part of Ava's life. He never tried to replace anyone. He simply showed up. Soccer games, school plays, parent-teacher meetings, even the terrible science fair project that nearly destroyed our kitchen. One evening, Ava came home holding a drawing. It showed 3 people standing beneath a purple sky. She handed it to Daniel and said, "I think you're my dad, but you're also kind of a stranger." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He smiled and answered, "That's okay. We can fix the stranger part." Watching them laugh together, I realized something I'd never expected. Sometimes the truth doesn't arrive to repair the past. It arrives to give the future a chance. If someone you believed was dead suddenly returned after 12 years, claiming to be your child's biological parent, would you give them a chance to rebuild the relationship? Yes, no.